So all results in your life, in your current circumstances, and everything that you've ever manifested in your life is a direct result of how much energy you're able to generate and sustain, right? So because the universe is all there is, existence is all there is, and it's all made of energy. And this existence, because it's inherently creative, has decided to manifest itself in an infinite number of forms, right? And you're one of them. What you call yourself, it's an individual manifestation of the universal consciousness, or all there is. So, because you're inherently connected to this infinite consciousness of made up of infinite energy, which is the universe, God, the creator, that means that inside of your own individual consciousness, the more you connect to the infinity that's inside of you, to the infinite part of you, the part of you that is limitless, the part of you that expands instead of contracting, the part of you that gives instead of takes, the part of you that sustains instead of destroys, or constructs and builds and creates instead of destroying, right? Or instead of never finishing something. The more you connect to this infinite level of energy, the more you're going to enjoy the very resources that are going to come back to you. The more you're going to the more you expand, the more expensive you are, the more you're able to experience, the greater, the deeper, the richer you're able to experience, the more impact your very experience has on you as an individual consciousness and in the collective consciousness, which is different manifestations of the same thing, right? So if you it's well, you tell me, which one do you think carries more energy? Me as a person, as an individual consciousness, which is directly connecting to the everything. Me only thinking about myself, only thinking about my needs, only thinking about my survival, and that is it. Or somebody that you know gives to a lot of people, is responsible for a lot of people, uh, or has you know directs their life to the elevation of the collective. Which one do you think is more expended? Which one do you think carries more energy? Which one do you think it's harder to do? Of course, it's easier for you to just take care of yourself. And as you start expanding, you transcend yourself and you start reaching what's around you on a wider, broader level. That's why it's that's why the aim needs to be for me to sacrifice and transcend the limited survival drive. That survival drive was very and is very important for you to be here, because you had to evolve up to this point. But after that, you need to transcend your survival. and you need to expand your capacity. You can't create great things in your life, and you can't have a very expanded experience, a very broad experience of the world, if you just think about yourself. That doesn't fit. You want to have options, you want to have a lot of resources, you want to be connected with love and joy and wealth and health. Guess what? These things that you want, freedom, they're not limited. Inherently, these principles and these very transcendental and divine, very high attributes, freedom, love, joy, wealth, which is a feeling, freedom, they're not limited. I cannot achieve them by merely limiting and deciding to experience something limited where I only care about my immediate survival. I need to transcend that limitation and connect to things that go beyond just myself. That's the way you expand, right? And by understanding this, that's how, because money is an example. You only don't make money if you're more worried. Most people are more worried about fixing their situation first instead of thinking that by caring about everyone else's problem, they detect a problem and they focus on solving that problem for lots of people that might be going through that problem. That is very, you're expanding a lot, you're transcending yourself, and that's how you create an impact. That's how people trust you and buy from you. That's why your spouse or your girlfriend, boyfriend is going to trust you and is going to, give their hearts to you, really, because you have this transcendental awareness. You don't care only about yourself. That's how things happen in your life. Not caring just about yourself, caring about everything else and transcending your immediate limited survival drive, transcending that is where everything that you want actually is. The freedom that you want, the ability for you to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, with whoever you want, wherever you want, as many times as you want. All these things, that this is a, you're telling me about a level of freedom. You can only attain that level of freedom if you become that level of freedom. For you to become that level of freedom, you need to transcend the limited awareness, uh, the limited mind that only wants to be limited and doesn't want freedom. Can you see that your ego doesn't really want the freedom that is what you're looking for? Your ego doesn't want the freedom that you're looking for. Now, everything is divine. The universe is all there is. So your ego is part of it. So we need to transcend the ego. We don't condemn the ego. The ego is there as the beginning of this phenomena of individualization of consciousness. For you to reach to this point, you have this perfect organism, divine, from top to bottom. There's autonomous vital functions that are going on nonstop. They work in a way to keep you alive, for you to be able to experience things. up to a certain level. But once you reach that certain level of survival, the only way, the only option is for you to expand. Because if you go the other way around and only think about your own interests, your self interests, that's inherently unsustainable, because the universe embraces everything. It is the everything. How can you decide to swim against the current of existence if you're inside of it and no one's getting out of it? We need to learn how to detect the movement of the universe, so we can swim in the flow of the universe. We can go with the flow of the universe instead of trying to swim. Have you imagined trying to swim against the flow of the universe, the flow of things? Do you think that you, by being fooled by your immediate survival drive, do you think you're going to be able to swim against the current of the universe itself, which is you, which is everything that you want as well? You're doing a disservice. That's a disservice for you. And we can try to swim against the flow of growth, prosperity, advancement, evolution, the natural flow of the universe. We can try. That's what we call resistance. You can try as much as you want, but there's going to be a moment where you're going to get so tired and burned out of trying, as if you can't squeeze existence. You flow with existence. You embrace everything that is around you. You literally embrace life, and things start happening to you. You connect with these higher divine principles. A principle is how something works inherently, right? You start understanding the principles of the universe, and you start living your life, applying them in your daily life. So there's no way you can go against the flow. We need to understand that the ego is there for a reason, but then we need to transcend it, right? Because your dreams, every great vision that you have, everything that excites you, the money you want, the relationship you want, the joy that you want, the peace that you want, the freedom that you want, we all want to have freedom of time freedom, geographical freedom. You want to go wherever you want, anytime you want. We all want to have mental freedom, emotional freedom. You don't want to be a slave to your own thoughts and emotions. All of that, it's it's already an idea that transcends limited self-interest. So you're telling me that you want something, but you act with self-interest. It doesn't, the math doesn't do, right? So think about that. Okay, your dreams are already universal. They come from universal principles. How can you deny the universe and have a greater vision for yourself at the same time? How can you have dreams of things that you want to achieve? Beautiful visions that your intuition is giving you. Your intuition is a direct channel from the universe, whether you want it or not. Now we can really suppress it until it almost it almost disappears. But that's why we need to regain that connection with the intuition. Intuition is a direct channel from the divine, from the everything, the whole, from God, the creative force itself, telling you about that greater vision. Okay, nobody has a dream from being in panic. Nobody dreams of greater things in their lives from a position of fear and panic. No, it's from a position of absolute security. It's when you're absolute immersed in your alpha brainwave to theta brainwave, and you're very inside of your infinite world of ideas, that these greater visions they come to you. It's when you're secure. It's when you're transcending the limitation of the ego. It's when you're transcending that these greater visions come to mind. But then what happens is that most of us, we we can't, we're unable to translate that process correctly. So we rationalize the intention, the intuition. We rationalize the intuition, and we bring it down, we dumb it down to the limiting survival drive. We say it's not possible for us. We say it's never going to happen. We say the government, uh, it's the government is to blame. Uh, we look at all the things that go against that very vision. Why do you think that vision is there? It's connected directly to the infinite, eternal, transcendental, divine attributes of the universe itself. And it's there to guide you, to guide you, to guide you. That's why also, like, when you start, you can't resist to the universe. If you start trying to hold on to the universe, you're going to collapse because it's unsustainable. You're going to collapse, and that's when we literally sometimes fall on our knees on the floor, and we just ask for help. Who do you think you're talking to? You're talking to the transcendental part of you. You're talking to the universe, which is you. And you're saying, why did I take so long to understand this? I can't take this anymore. I was trusting the survival drive, but I realized it doesn't work. Why am I in pain? Why am I depressed? Why am I frustrated? Why do I feel like I'm stuck? Why is everybody doing why does everybody looks like they're living the perfect life and I live and I'm not, right? Or any of that. Do you see how much everything fits when you start looking at these things? Literally, the answers for everything that you seek are in connecting to the infinite and eternal, the limitless, their principles. Okay? They have always been there. They have no beginning, no middle, and no end. They are things that inherently work. And this is what you need. You need things that work. You need models of existence that are sustainable. You connect to them, and you're doing something that works. You're not doing something that's going to be destroyed 5, 10 years in the future. Okay? You see how much life actually wants you to expand, transcend, create the magical life, and experience the magical life? That's what you have to connect to.